Hey, my name is Jason Loo, and I'm the writer of Dazzler, and you are listening to Power of X-Men. What's going on?
Jason, I am so happy to have you back on the podcast. Well, you were on the podcast, but that was one episode that I wasn't on. The only episode of Power of X-Men I had never been on. You are writing a little book that's coming out next month that a lot of us are so incredibly excited for. It's the Dazzler series.
Yes, yes. Oh man, it's so weird when Martin Bureau, the editor, reached out to me for it. I was like, wait, are you sure you want me at like to work on Dazzler? Like out of all the other writers, like me? Are you sure? But then I was like, wait, this is like a good opportunity to be part of the new era of X-Men books. So I was like, all right, like just in case if I'm just one of the many candidates, I gotta like kind of prove myself that like no, I need to work on this book. And that's why I came up with just writing Dazzler songs and seeing if just to give myself like a one up over the writers that I might be competing against. But yeah, I guess that like Martin Bureau like really had me in mind for this project.
My face is so red right now because you just said I wrote Dazzler songs.
Yes.
Be quiet because I don't want to pry. I don't want any spoilers. I want this all to be a surprise. But can we be expecting Dazzler lyrics in the series?
Oh, for sure, for sure. What's looking back at some of Dazzler's comics, like I don't remember like any original songs that she sung. I mean, I know Gail Simone when she was writing Deadpool, there was like a little excerpt of one song that she sang, but I was like, let's try to like let's make these as like full songs, and we'll at the very end of the book we'll have like the song lyrics, so fans can um take that and maybe compose their own music out of it.
Jason,
Yeah.
I've literally just thrown out this entire outline that I sent you because you have thrown me off with something so awesome like this. Because there's so many questions I want to follow up on this, which is one, you're right. She never really has had full blown lyrics. Like maybe here and there, like the first one that comes into mind is during like the Utopian era where she's like singing with like Pixie, in the background. And maybe there's some lyrics there that are a little bit more ominous, more foreshadowing for the plot. But in terms of actual lyrics, I think you may be one of the first writers. Can I ask? I have two follow-up questions. One,
Yes.
the X-Men animated series where she sings Body Heat. Found myself a party, don't know what to do. Did you I mean I mean, did you remember watching that unfold years ago in the original animated series? And two, Gail Simone obviously wrote a musical scene for the Birds of Prey in one of the Batman animated series. I'm forgetting which one it was, but did Gail Simone weigh in or give you some pointers on how to create lyrics?
No, not at all. I actually the funny thing was like I like me and Gail Simone, like we were on the same X-Men Discord for months until like I later found out, like looking back at some other Dazzler back issues, like wait a minute, like Gail like seemed like she did it all, like she already wrote a Dazzler song. Is it just
Yeah,
wasn't, I guess wasn't like fully realized into like a full song, but
yeah.
like just snippets of a song. But yeah, no, Body Heat was from the animated series. Like that's definitely like a time capsule of its time. We're right now like she's out promoting her new album, looking back at her past relationships, kind of like Taylor Swift how she looks back at her past relationships with with the Eras tour. Um, so that's what I did was what was put her entire story um in her own songs.
Okay, well, I've got to ask you this question now because you just made the Taylor Swift and Dazzler comparison. Does this book exist? Because there was so much hype for Taylor Swift as Dazzler that, your editor was like, yeah, let's do a Dazzler book.
We took a chance on it.
Mm,
I think the comics office, Marvel Comics office, they were in the dark on it. They didn't
yeah.
know. Means I did not know either. We took a gamble on it, and if it didn't work out, we were going to be like, well, we're going to make a really fun, exciting Dazzler book, anyways.
Yeah.
In the spirit of Taylor Swift Eras tour. But I mean, it would have been cool if it did work out, though. But
Yes.
um,
It did not, sadly, but I'm just being facetious because Dazzler, we love Dazzler here at Power of X-Men so much. And regardless of whatever happens in any films, seeing a creator like you, knowing that the Marvel editorial office is invested in telling a good story for this character and just bringing her to this audience, I think just makes us so happy. And again, I was joking about the Taylor Swift as Dazzler. However, the hype was there for Dazzler. There's so much interest to Dazzler, and in many ways, this does feel like her moment to come and get her own series.
definitely, I loved seeing all the fan art out there, and made me like more. It made me believe it even more, like seeing like this just hundreds or thousands of fans out there believing that, and I was like, I mean, Ryan, you can't let these fans down. If like everyone's expecting this, but when you see Deadpool versus Wolverine, and you're like, no, this is a Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Like
Yeah.
it would make no sense to just fit in a
Taylor
Dazzler
Swift does
reference.
yeah. Yeah.
But like it was cool to see Taylor Swift hang out at the football games with Ryan and Hugh and all that stuff, which made us like speculate like how like tight they are. But I mean, like Ryan and Hugh and Sean Levi, they're all telling like a solid story, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
didn't need to involve Dazzler.
Did you enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine?
I did. I only saw it once. I
What?
was amazed
Blasphemous!
by.
Blasphemous! Ah! I've only seen it. I saw it once because I went to the event and then I saw it privately, and that's that. So I'm with you. I technically only saw it once because at the event we were like this the entire time.
Well, part of me does want to see it again, but I feel like with all the Easter eggs, surprises that I've already seen, like would I enjoy it now that I've like knowing that I know what to expect. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be cool to see like all the. I mean, can we talk about spoilers? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, I have spoiled this. We're like 20 episodes since I so talk as many spoilers as you want. But just in case if anyone is tuning in and they haven't seen it, here's your official spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1. Jason, take it away.
Yeah, like all the Wolverine references with the Age of Apocalypse, and I mean, I guess everyone has seen Gambit. Like that was
Yeah.
cool too. Like yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, they really did it with Gambit, and to see Channing Tatum, like you can tell like he's proving to the audience he worked so hard for this role. Like he's putting it all out there with his voice, and it's like, man, like I love that passion. I love
I
it. It really shines through.
I thought he was such a welcome surprise seeing Jennifer Garner come back as Elektra. I don't, I can't think of a better moment in like 2002, 2003 than Jennifer Gardner in her penthouse in Manhattan with Evanescence playing in the background. I mean, it was such a celebration of these characters, of the X-Men, of Wolverine, of the work they
She
did
looks
with
like
the
she only
functionals.
aged, or she only looked like she aged like just by 2 years.
I know.
It's amazing. Like she's still in great shape.
I know she and I one of our co-hosts here is a big Alias fan. She just looks like she's been incredibly grateful for all the success she's had, and it was such a pleasure to see her on screen.
For sure, absolutely. Blade too, like,
Oh my
uh,
God.
oh my gosh, like I'm glad that Wesley Snipes and Ryan Reynolds, like, they buried the hatchet to tell this really great story.
Same, and I love that they made the reference there. You're like, I thought you hated me or whatever he said. But a lot of people when because we had
I'm
seen
tearing up right now.
no, it's because it's so funny. It was so great, but it's so funny because I went to the premiere, and then the spoilers kind of came out, a couple of days afterwards, and some people in the comments, not on Power of X-Men, but other places, were like, Wesley Snipes isn't in that movie because Ryan Reynolds hates him, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh God, they don't know. They don't know that he really is in the movie, and they acknowledge it, and it was so much fun.
Loved it, loved it. Yeah, it did not need Dazzler, but I mean, it would have been nice. But no, Ryan Reynolds, like, he said in an interview that, like, that no, like, she deserves her own film. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, like, she doesn't need to be like this little reference, like a little Easter egg in this movie filled with references. Like, no, she deserves a whole spotlight to herself.
Well, and that is why we are so happy for your series. And I'm just gonna pry a little bit, and you tell me if I'm crossing a line here. But we are talking about Taylor Swift and sort of being a reference point for Dazzler, and she's in her Eras tour moment in the comic. Are we going to see any past relationships surface? Is there that possibility? Whether it's Longshot, maybe Shatterstar, maybe Lois, any what more soul can you give us?
I will say some of her songs, or a good chunk of her songs that I've written, do reference her past relationships.
Okay.
Actually, uh, uh, NYX issue number one,
Yeah.
which Jackson and Colin wrote. They
Which
actually
we love here. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We love NYX here at Power of X-Men. Wow, what
and
a great first issue.
same, and by the way, like, we are already thinking of, I don't know if this is a bit of a spoiler, but like, well, we love our titles so much, and we're gonna see if Dazzler's tour dates will align with NYC.
That makes
uh
perfect sense. That makes, of course, and you know why it makes also perfect sense is that NYX is very much a book where one of the main characters is New York City, and one of the big defining things about New York City are my husband works in concerts, so maybe I'm a little tinge there, but New York City and concerts, whether it's the Barclays Center, Madison Square Garden, or any other like small venue like Irving Plaza, you see concerts in the city, and who better than Dazzler than Allison. Oh my God. I'm like
I
my
think it's gonna
face is
happen.
burning red, right? Jason, I thought I was going to be obnoxious with these Dazzler questions, but I'm discovering you're such a huge, possibly even bigger fan of Dazzler than I am. But like you just have me giddy and so excited here.
In NYX issue number one, Jackson and Colin fit in an excerpt from one of her songs that's going to be featured in issue number one, and that's Rich Angel.
Mhm. Wait,
That's the title of the song, Rich Angel. So if you, I mean, you would already know who that is.
yeah. Oh, and we remember that original series quite a bit where she had seemingly like a different love interest every issue.
Pretty much, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Oh
uh,
man. I
looking
first of all,
forward to
my face
showing
is
stuff.
cracked here because in X Factor, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but in X Factor, of course, Angel is front and center with the media.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Um, no, it's kind of funny to see Dazzler singing about these former flames and seeing where they are right now. Like in their respective titles. Well, like Warren and X Factor. And someone else in another book, which I'm not going to mention, but it's going to be pretty obvious if you do your research. Um, you know what? No, I'm going to say it. Beauty and the Beast is one of the songs in a future issue. Beauty and the Beast.
I
That's.
I have spoken. So on the docket of us to do interviews, and this may be the opportunity for, is talking to Anne about Beauty and the Beast. Because we had her on to discuss, oh gosh, what did we have her on to discuss? A long shot. We had her on to discuss a long shot because that's one of my favorite series. And we were like, oh, we'll circle back on Beauty and the Beast. I listen, Jason, I bow to you. Thank you. On behalf of Dazzler Standum, thank you for just giving her the respect. Not that I don't want to take away from some of the past stories that she's had, because I think when Dazzler has been put out there, she's been great. But Dazzler stands, we feel like there have been a couple false starts with the character. And one of the bigger ones was when she joined Shield and then immediately was, swapped out with Mystique. And then she went through her punk era. So it's just so refreshing to see Allie living her best, going on tour, and you giving her lyrics. Like, my God. Sorry, I'm like pounding my teeth.
No, yeah, like that Dazzler has been through a lot of hiccups throughout her entire career in the 616. So this series is pretty much trying to celebrate like all the obstacles that she's overcome. And so this is a celebration of her entire career for all the Dazzler fans, but also this is a good jumping on point for all the new Swifty fans that are just crossing into Marvel. They're gonna have a great time as well. Like, yeah, this is just a celebration of a pop star in the 616.
When you were doing your research and outlining and writing for this book, was there something about Dazzler you uncovered, or did you notice a trend with how she's been written that was just very, very, very curious to you, and something that you don't think many people have noticed before? I'm sorry, that's my Oprah question for you. I'm sorry.
It was a lot of looking back at like all these interesting things that she like phases that she's gone through. But I think the hook that helped me write this series was just going back to the original series, going back to even reading Dazzler the movie and seeing like all like these horrible men in the industry that have really exploited her, like treated her so badly. And you look at her right now where like she's got sold out shows in her tour, and like she's overcome all these stuff, and now she's like she's owning up to her mistakes. She's she slayed those demons like the and yeah, she's here just to shine on her own, just shine brilliantly to her millions of fans.
I have goosebumps right now because that's all we've really wanted to see from Allison. And I think, we've talked about this before on the podcast. I think she was the greatest asset in the Krakoan era that was never utilized, which is you have this character who is a mutant diva, and the one thing that does unite people that we've seen time and time again is music. Music brings people together, and I'm sorry we never got to see her really lean into that in the Krakoan era. Post Krakoa, where do you think Dazzler? What's Dazzler's mindset? I mean, she went through it in the Krakoan era. I mean, she Nimrod
Oh
right
my
through
goodness!
her, right through her, and then of course we
What
had.
a
Where is she in this mindset afterwards?
it's pretty much the like she's coming out of the ashes, literally coming out of the ashes.
Ba-bum.
She was, like during the Krakoa era. Like I've established this in the first couple pages of issue number one. Like she was working on a new album. She was busy writing like some new songs when she was in Krakoa, and now she's finally got it out. But she's promoting it at a time when the world uh fears and hates mutants again,
Yeah.
and it's kind of troubling for her because now she's like she wants to please everyone, and the same with her lifestyle slash PR manager, Wind Dancer. Like their strategy is try to is try to please everyone, but at the same time, if you want to please everyone, especially the human fans, you got to tone down your mutant identity a bit to make yourself palatable. And it's like, is that what Dazzler wants? Like, and she's gonna find herself crossing that, or at least walking along that line, and eventually have to choose a side. Like,
Yeah.
should she like be out and proud, and like just be out and proud with her identity, or should she just kind of keep it on a down low to make herself palatable more so to the human fans? So yeah, in the entire series, that's what it's all about. It's just walking along those lines. While there's like all these protests going on at her concerts from the Friends of Humanity and like everyone, like all the anti-mutant people,
I
crowd out there. Yeah.
that you know what I really love about your approach here, and I'm sorry, I just got lost in how you were talking about it, is that's how concerts are today. That's how events are today, where there are protests outside. You have to worry about your public image. You can't be too much of this, too much of that. I have friends who work in like Hollywood, and it's all about hitting this mark where you're not too this, you're not that. You need to make broad appeals. And I like that a character like Dazzler, who has really been through it before, she's been in the public eye for a long time. Now it's going to become a question of, am I going to silence my mutant identity at a time when mutants, that voice needs to be out there? So, Jason, what do you want me to say? Wait, thank you for giving so much thought and respect to this character that we've seen different stories of her told in the past. Leah Williams, when she did Exterminators, we loved Allison in that, but to see Dazzler really take front and center and just be at the forefront of mutant cause. I mean, character was very popular in the 80s. I mean, she had an oil painting cover, like Marvel wasn't effing around with her. So it's so wonderful that she's landed in your hands.
And those oil painting covers, like that's what first attracted me to Dazzler, over a decade ago. Like just digging through like the dollar bins and being like, man, like these Bill Sienkiewicz covers, like it just makes me want to like just dive into like her stories, and then when you open and read through them, and I just fell in love with Frank Springer's visual narratives. I just love his style. It's very dramatic. I love the tone. It's not hyper stylized.
Mm-hmm.
It reads like a soap opera, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring that kind of story, that same style of storytelling in the series, thanks to artist Rafael Lurejo.
Raphael's art looks so great. I've only seen the black and white preview pages, I believe, but already we're already in it, man. Like,
It's
I mean,
so stunning.
how's it working with him, and how is it sort of conveying your ideas of the scene, especially with Dazzler in a very specific, situation in her life? How is it communicating with Raphael?
He gets it,
Yeah.
man. Like he's definitely like got the perfect style to make Dazzler look so bedazzled, so stunning.
Oh yeah.
Like all the concert scenes look so gorgeous. And no, he's definitely hit that same tone that Frank Springer does, but more with like a contemporary flair. Like Frank Springer's polished, but like I guess like polished in like in more modern sense in a
I
way.
got you. Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, Raphael is fantastic. I was just looking at his layouts for issue number three already, and like we got some action scenes that look so exciting, look so thrilling, and it looks his style reads like an anime, like an anime that I love to watch. And the thing is, like, I'm not much of an otaku fan, but like he definitely got that style that like I would read a whole I would read 30 volumes of a manga series drawn by him.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I don't want to ask about the action scene. I, can I ask? And again, I don't want to pry, but do we have a central bad? Has a central bad been revealed? Is no. Okay.
It's all a mystery.
It's
It's
all a
all
mystery.
a mystery.
Okay.
This
Okay.
whole thing, yeah,
I
yeah, it's a mystery.
I'm not a I like Taylor Swift. I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan, so I don't know. My point here that I'm trying to make is a gem, maybe more gem in the holograms, which is, does she have a misfit like the Misfits? Does she have a counter pop star that may be coming for her tracks? But
Well,
so
I'll tell you that like in issue number one, like the villain that I picked out for this one, because the thing is there are a lot of villains that are going to be hunting Dazzler down, but there
oh,
is a master saboteur,
okay.
and but the first one is Scorpina. Or no,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and I felt like her look kind of has that
yeah,
Misfits look. Like
yeah.
she would be, yeah, the Misfits
Like
to Dazzler's
pizzazz,
Gem.
yeah, like the
Yeah,
pizzazz to Jerica slash Gem. Oh my god.
exactly.
Okay, I'm sorry. Listen, the greatest joy in my life would be having a 80s Gem and the Hologram style live action movie. So any reference I can make to Dazzler with that, I'm gonna ask. Is there, I don't want to pry anymore. I think you've given us way too much information. Is there anything you want to say about that upcoming Dazzler film before we die? Or excuse me, Dazzler film. Wishful thinking, Dazzler series.
Anything else I can talk about?
Yeah. Mm.
Hmm. I mean, okay, well, we know that it's a celebration of her career.
Hmm.
Lots of Easter eggs with
Hmm.
some of her former loves.
Hmm.
Um, I it's also just a combination of everything I've done in the X-Men universe. So if you read back to like all my X-Men Unlimited stuff,
Oh, we
like
have?
there's gonna be lots of references
Okay.
into in this series. Um, and some of them I'm very pleased that we're bringing from the X-Men Unlimited Infinity Comics, and it's gonna be fully visualized in the series.
Oh, listen, your X-Men Unlimited issues were so great. They're all kind of jumbled in my head right now because I read them so like effortlessly. But you did a lot of the Jamie issues, and we had you on previously, and you spoke about Jamie, and obviously your work on the Sentry. Which, by the way, your interpretation of the Sentry and that series. Thank you so much for such a wonderful, fun series, man.
Well, thank you so much. The trade paperback, Volume One, comes out this Wednesday.
All
So
right, Familia, go pick it up at your local comic book store. Are you doing any signings for that? Where are you based? If you don't mind me asking.
I'm based in downtown Toronto.
Oh,
Fan Expo is actually this coming weekend, so I'll be there for all 4 days. I'll be signing the Werewolf by Night, Blood Hunt, Werewolf by Night, Red Bandage number one that just came out last week. Iron Fist, that came out last week. Yeah, I'll be there to sign all the comics.
Yeah, you're pretty busy, aren't you? And your fellow X-Men, right? Which I haven't announced this officially yet on the podcast, but we're speaking to Jed McKay next, and we were trying to set a date, and he has Fan Expo as well. So it looks like both of you will be there together.
Yes, yes, we'll be high fiving each other,
You
smooching.
should because well, we haven't read Dazzler yet, but obviously based on everything we've discussed, we're really excited. But also Jed's X-Men has really just been phenomenal as well.
He's laid down the groundwork for this whole new world of X-Men, and I'm just so honored to be in the same sandbox as all the other talented X writers. Like we got Alyssa Wong, we got Gail Simone, we got Jackson and Colin, Alex Packnettle, we
Yeah.
got it's I'm just flattered. Eve Ewing. We're all so supportive with each other.
Are
I'm blessed. I'm feeling blessed.
one of the things that Jordan D. White in the X Office when he was doing the Krakoan era, the big thing was the X-Men Slack and Tiki, I believe. I don't remember. This is all locked down, apps and stuff. But so, are you part of an X-Men Slack now with this new group of writers? Are you guys just having the time of your life, just like chatting in there? What is a vibe like in the X Office in this new era?
So we're all in the same Discord, and we have like three different channels where. Man, maybe this is like too much insider baseball. I should tone it down a bit. No, it's great because like we have a channel where we can kind of like just support each other and just be each other's cheerleader when our books come out. And also we would ask each other questions about, hey, like, is anyone using this character, and any plans for that, and we can work out our respective titles so everything reads cohesively.
Can I tell you that's one of the things that I greatly admire about the X Office, and we've spoken with writers from years past when you had to fax over those pages or go into like Anne's office and ask to borrow Wolverine. Um, One of the things that has been so incredibly evident is the support all of you give each other, and especially the X-Men community. We're very tight, as well. We're very passionate and we're very loud, and it's so refreshing to see that you writers are always, and artists and editors and colorists are always on the same page in terms of support. That is something that's always so evident, and what a pleasure it is to even hear you guys just exchanging ideas, talking about which characters are available and how to do things. It's such as someone who is a long-term reader, 3 decades, it always brings such a smile to my face when I hear these kind of stories and support.
And yeah, we're helping each other promote our books when they come out,
Mhm.
and we're currently we love seeing our titles being featured as like in the top 10 best selling list of that week. Like
Yeah.
we're on a pretty good streak at the moment, and so like I hope Daz will meet the same standard as all the other titles. So for right now, like we just want to thank all the fans for all the love and support. Like this is a great time to be excited about the X-Men,
Yeah.
especially like right off of X-Men 97, and now we got this new era where we're trying to capture that same spirit of the love of the X-Men 90s into this new era.
So can I ask you, Jason? You are sitting down, you're watching X-Men 97, you see what happens in Genosha, and among the dead is Allison. Like, are you just like mother fucker? Like,
I being an X-Men fan, no one dies forever, and I feel that maybe we'll see an X-Men 99 where they go to the Krakoa era, and we see them get resurrected, and she will be resurrected with her strawberry blonde hair.
okay, listen, we have feels with the strawberry blonde hair. Where do you land on strawberry blonde hair for Dazzler in the animated series?
Um, I just accepted it, and for the animated series, I've seen a lot of miscolorations of some characters, especially background characters in
Yeah.
the X-Men animated series. That you just go, and this is like back when I was growing up with it. I just accepted it because that was the only thing we had.
Yeah.
So we're like,
Yeah.
you know what? I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't
yeah,
agree with you more. It's so funny because the way fandom has changed a little bit over the course of these last few decades. But when again, you see Dazzler in the animated series, you're not questioning it. You're just happy she's there. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, they just did her differently, and you kind of like move on. It's so weird now to be a podcaster in his 40s talking about Dazzler's hair color in 1992. It's the absurdity of it, but because it ignited so much passion, because it meant so much to see them on screen. You know what I mean?
and it's a nice throwback
Yeah.
to that little color snafu that they had like back in the day.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why they decided to make her like like a brunette, but it was. I mean, I thought maybe it was a mistake by the colorist, but I mean, for them to like bring her back with that same hair color is like I get it because it's that same world. Like
Yeah.
you just got to honor that.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Okay. So we've pumped you full of or pumped the Dazzler questions. I wanted to ask a little bit more about you and your fandom because obviously you are a long time X fan. How did little Jason come to the X-Men?
Um, I think I really got more like I okay because I've answered this question of like what was your favorite or what was your first comic that you've picked up and New Mutants 50 issue 54 was the first X comic I ever picked up. It was like one of like five comics of my first five comics
Hmm.
that I picked up besides Archie and Batman.
Hmm.
So that's where I got familiar with like Cannonball and Cypher and the Black Queen,
Hmm.
Celine, and Sage.
Oh,
Even though I didn't really know Sage by her name at the
yeah.
time because I was only 4 or 5. But X Men in the 90s, like when you had the trading cards, you had the 6 player arcade, you had the cartoon, well, the pilot, and then the cartoon, and then Jim Lee's issue number 1. That's when I jumped on it.
Yeah,
Like,
same. I'm sorry. I'm like nodding like this for those who are just listening to the podcast because first of all, the 1994 Fleer Ultras were my gateway drug. That one of Rogue, I remember so distinctly being on the playground and Victor Salcedo giving me that card and me holding it, and it was like a little piece of art. I mean, the art there by Joe Phillips was gorgeous, and then I flip it over, and her real name was unrevealed, and her power was that she siphoned. It sparked so much curiosity, and I never understood why that era meant so much to me. But we were talking to Zeb Wells years ago, and Zeb talked about how back in the day when we were sort of coming into the X-Men, you had to go out and be a little archaeologist and you had to find out this information on these characters because all you had were those little trading cards. All you had was a cameo in the X-Men animated series. And that's why these characters, we hold them so tightly because we had to discover this information for ourselves in an age before Wikipedia.
oh, and talking about trading cards, I like since last year I've gone back into obsessively like going to like some of these shops and picking out uh trading card packs of Marvel Universe 92, 93, Marvel Masterpieces 92, 93, 94, and starting my own collection again, and looking back at even some forgotten characters from the 90s,
Yeah.
and being like, like this character, I haven't seen this character for a while. Like, let's see what this character's been up to. Maybe I should bring this person back into like one of my books, which I'm working on Werewolf by Night and Dazzler and some other upcoming ones and so yeah, those trading cards like they've been a very helpful guide of inspiration.
Are you telling me you're looking at these Marvel Impels, Fleer Ultras, and you're like, who haven't we seen yet? I, Jason, to be a fly on the wall when you are drafting and outlining and brewing your magic would be, I would just lose my fanboy shit. But okay, so what do you think? I mean, I want to frame this correctly. What do you think little Jason would think, knowing that you grew up and you're this successful comic book writer writing stories for Marvel, tackling characters like Iron Fist, Dazzler, Werewolf by Night, which, by the way, was very, once we got the Disney Plus one shot, was huge. I mean, these are big properties you're working on. It's surreal. Like, what would little Jason must have been like, what?
Little Jason Loo is like inside me right now, just
Yeah.
screaming at all the stuff I get to play with right now, and I'm just enjoying it. I get to like just to read a lot of comics as work
Yeah.
for my research. Um, and, and especially like just playing with action figures, like just collecting all the Marvel Legends figures that of
Oh.
characters that I've worked on. I'm yeah, I'm having a huge ball right now. I'm still that kid. I'm still that kid that I used to be, but now it's like, but with a bigger vocabulary to write these scripts.
Did did you always wanted to be a comic creator? Was it what came first, the chicken or the egg? Did you want to be a writer slash artist? Did you want to be it after you got into comic books? I'm sort of thinking, what is the impetus for your professional career?
Yeah, I always wanted to be a cartoonist. Like
Okay.
I went to college. I went to Sheridan College to study illustration, in hopes that it would teach me how to be a cartoonist, a well-rounded one that where I can write and draw my own stories. But it was during a time when like comics was a frowned upon medium.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it only took maybe like 8 years after that where like they were like, let's develop a comic program so we can study this
Mm,
medium now. Um, but yeah, like my goal in the very beginning was to just do it all, write and draw my own stories, and that's what I was doing with my own series, The Pitiful Human Lizard, which was about Toronto's own pretty decent superhero. And so I did that for 5 years, 22 issues. I made my own deadlines, just trying to get myself conditioned for, if I were ever called up by any of the big companies that like I will be able to deliver the work on time and deliver the right like the right amount of quality that you guys are looking for. And then as I'm getting older, because I'm in my early 40s right now, I'm
oh,
like,
same, same. You look
yeah,
much younger. I thought you were much younger. That's why I was like, when you said you were watching the anime series, I was like, on Disney, on DVDs,
VHS.
VHS. Well, you're old school there. Same kid. Same.
I so like drawing comics is so time consuming, and especially when I am I'm still working a full time day job outside of comics,
Yeah.
outside of juggling the amount of series that I'm working on, and so being at that age, I'm realizing maybe I should like kind of like I don't know if I have the longevity or that many years to be a regular artist. I'm just gonna shift my focus to just telling my own stories,
Yeah.
and I'm having a blast that way because it's I think it's a lot more fun to be able to control what the characters are going to do and say, and just create all these fun, exciting new moments that they're going to be in for the adventures to come.
It's I was listening to Rob Liefeld's podcast and he was talking about how time consuming being a comic book artist is, especially with those deadlines. And we've had artists on before, but this episode of his podcast really framed it for me, where he was here like, to sit down and draw, it means you're missing out on family vacations. It means that your kids have a baseball game and you can't make it to there. And it's a very time consuming thing to do and very laborious physically. So I feel with what you're saying that perhaps maybe even focusing on writing is a bit, it's a little bit more nimble for your time. But can I tell you, I just ordered Hulk, not Smash, when I was doing some research in anticipation of our interview here. And the illustrations in there, my God, Jason. I mean, we know you're a talented writer, but I want to stress that you're an equally talented illustrator. And those images, especially that jacket copy or jacket cover of Hulk, just more in a Zen pose, like it conveys. I used to work in book publishing, and one of the things we used to have every week were cover meetings, and it's so hard to nail a cover, and it takes a certain artist to be able to do it, and you are just so talented in that regard.
Oh, thanks. I mean, well, that cover was a great collaboration with me and the designer.
Yeah,
It- like I don't have the designer's name, but like
yeah,
they yeah did a beautiful job packaging that book.
yeah,
That project was a lot of fun because I got to draw all my favorite Marvel characters that I didn't get to work on yet. Because it's funny because like for my past, like I've been working with Marvel for 3 years since 2021,
mm,
and I've been in like all these different anthologies, like or just one offs, with that spread across a lot of different characters and titles. Um, but Hulk Not Smash allowed me to draw the characters that I missed out on.
yeah.
So like I got all the essentials down, and I say yeah, I did get to fully draw like Miles Morales and Ghost Spider, and yeah.
Who? Okay, we know you should say Dazzler, but of Dazzler aside, who is your favorite X-Men character, whether it's a Brotherhood, X-Men cast member, other than Dazzler?
Well, it's multiple man, of
There you
course.
go. All right, fair enough. Yeah. You guys had a really wonderful conversation about multiple man. We love Jamie very much on this podcast.
He's the living embodiment of the master multitasker. Like,
Yeah.
when I was doing cartooning, like like writing, drawing, lettering, and all that, while at the same time I'm like working a full-time day job, wearing all these many hats of like being like a library programmer and then doing all these like other problem solving. I looked at multiple man as like a role model, someone to aspire to, and try to like be steadfast in doing it all, being trying to be a master at everything, a jack of all trades.
Wait, do you work in the library during the day?
I do,
Oh, that's awesome. We're big
full
library
time.
people. I just I'm doing a collaboration here in Miami with the Coconut Grove Miami-Dade Public Library System. We're doing a comic book club. We should have you as our next pick.
Definitely, definitely. Next pick as like the author or a book
Yeah, like
pick
the
of
author, like
Hulk,
a book that you have written. How about that?
right?
Yeah.
Hulk not Smash.
Yeah, well,
Or
listen, I would be more than happy to do that. I think that book is right up my alley. I am so happy for it to be on its way. But okay, so Jamie, how about your favorite X story?
House of X seems pretty fresh still. Like
Yeah,
I loved
that's
everything
fair.
that Jonathan Hickman like started up, and yeah, that's fresh on my mind because I'm still in love with all that. Messiah Complex is also, I would say, in my top five
I'm
for
like
some
again,
reason.
we love Messiah Complex here, but Messiah Complex. I was working at Wizard Magazine when Messiah Complex was coming out, and I loved it so much. Speaking of Jamie, though, Jamie plays such a big part in there, especially with Layla, and that's where we discovered that they will one day be married.
You know what? Now that you brought that up, but part of me kind of regrets that. I don't know. It's kind of like iffy. Like I don't know. No, like I like Messiah Complex as like an event, but like oof, that part where like Layla um like grows old. I mean, not older,
Oh
but like
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. And
it's
when they're
that
in
I
the
mean
in
that whole relationship, like of
yeah.
how like that relationship started. I don't know. It's very very cringy to me. I just feel a bit uneasy about it. But like if we can kind of look past it and and like, hey, Layla's of age. She's like in her 20s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's fair. But you know, the other thing that with Messiah Complex, specifically with Jamie, that haunted me for a while, it was eventually tackled in X Factor, but you know, they sent two dupes to two different timelines, and we only see the timeline where, you know, the Messiah destroys everyone. We never saw the utopian, so, you know, version where that dupe went. So we eventually got played out, but it took a beat to get there. And I remember thinking, what happened to that Jamie dupe in Messiah
have they
Complex?
ever? They've never ever touched on that yet.
They did. I believe they touched upon it in X Factor. With
Okay.
that run with Peter Davey, I believe he came back and he was evil. The dupe was evil. It's been a minute since I read the story, so it's kind of murky in my mind, but I'm pretty sure they tackled it.
Oh, good. I mean, just
You're like, well, let me
like
take down a
you
note
know,
here.
it gave me like a little spark of like,
Yeah.
interesting. Maybe there's something to explore there.
I will, you know what? I will look back and I'll DM you the particulars of that. But I'm like 90% sure it was tackled. But okay, wait, before we let you go, Jason, I'm gonna ask you a very salty question. Um, who is your least favorite X-Men and why is it the sociopath known as Hank McCoy? And of course,
Oh,
we jokingly dislike Beast
I
in this podcast.
I loved him as a villain in the Ben Pearson run. Actually,
Oh
you know what?
yeah.
Like, I did really love that X Factor run. No, that X Force run.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
so yeah, you can say that would be one of my favorite X-Men stories.
I mean,
But
Ben's voice, so he just talks so smooth. I can't do his voice, but he's so smooth when you see him at a con or something. Oh, and he blurbed one of my favorite books, which is that I read recently, which is in the era of sharks, and it's a beautiful novel, and I love that he gave the blurb for it.
he's a fantastic writer. But yeah, no, back to Beast
Least,
being.
yeah, Beast,
I love to hate him.
yeah,
I love to hate him.
same.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. There are a lot of despicable villains out there. Just trying to think of. I mean, Empath is one.
An empath is certainly he's getting his moment in NYX. So
NYX.
let's see how that unfolds. But empath and beast, those are pretty those are fun villains to hate, you know?
And I guess the Fenris twins because they're Nazis,
Oh
so
god,
like
yeah.
you gotta hate them. That's a given.
That's a given. Jason, where can fans connect with you on the social medias? Any other upcoming projects besides Dazzler that you can talk about and plug?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram. I'm more active on Instagram than all the other platforms. So yeah, Jason Lowe makes comics. You can find me at on Twitter at rebel underscore LOO. Those are the ones I'm mostly active on. Like I'm on all the other threads, but I'm rarely posting. Things to come out. I mean, I'm rocking the Werewolf by Night issue number 2 comes out next month. It's an ongoing. Moon Knight's going to be showing up in the next issue. So I'm glad he's back. Actually, it's funny that like when it was announced that Moon Knight's back, the solicitation for Werewolf by Night issue number 2 went out at the same time as well. So I'm happy to that was a relief that I got to announce his return at the same time. Dazzler issue number one comes out next month, in September.
Yep,
I am
September
doing
18th. Everyone go to your local comic book store and buy all of these issues.
and if you're in the greater Toronto area, I'm doing a big launch party in Toronto at the Off World Bar. We got some drag performances by Divine Darling and Baby Bell Bell, at Toronto's beloved sci-fi themed bar, with all these cool creative space drinks. It's going to be a wonderful time. And that's going to happen on September 17th, a day before the official launch. So, yeah, we'll be selling copies one day early there at that event. Thanks to beloved Toronto comic store, The Beguiling.
I am looking at my work calendar right now to see if I can pop in because I would love to see that launch party. I mean, you have me at space age drinks. That's it. I'm sorry. You got me there. Jason, what an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's always a lot of fun